Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Mo and this is my channel FPL Inkling, where you'll be getting the latest and the best news for the Fantasy Premier League season of 2021-22. Before we begin today, I'm just going to let you know what the video is all about. So I'm making a video around forgotten heroes. So there's a lot of content out there where everyone talks about the current informed players, who to bring in, who not to bring in. But I believe that, there are some players who've done well in the past, but we just seem to forget their great performances. The last season overshadows their kind of like previous season successes. Is it really fair to judge a person just on one season? It could be an injury, it could just be a dip in form. Several reasons, but we should not forget previous heroes from previous years and what they can deliver on the FPL stage itself. Obviously, they are heroes for a reason. They have done well in the past, and there's no reason just because last season went not so well, this season can be their year to come back and actually give you the reward and dividends that they've given in the past itself. Maybe sometimes it's the price that puts you off. You look at the player and you think, do you know what, they've been priced at this player, at this price, and I don't think that that's justifying their performance from last season. But we need to sometimes take into an account it could not be, an injury, it could be generally out of form. Can they replicate that from previous time, and can they make you a stronger manager? For two reasons. Firstly, being brave and taking the risk and backing a veteran. And secondly, you're going to choose a differential. So automatically, if this player plays well and it has low ownership in the initial weeks, that will give you such a comparative advantage to so many other managers that will kind of follow the trend and go for the kind of like, the most owned players. Now, that's not a bad strategy. That's something that, a lot of people are doing. That's something that sometimes I may be guilty of, but it's such a high risk that it is actually that much rewarding if it does come off. So those are the players we're going to discuss today. And I've got a few players that, that I've highlighted who are kind of like the forgotten heroes of FPL that have a good chance of doing well this season. But before we get into it, guys, if you've been here and you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you like it even more, subscribe to the channel and be part of the FPL Inkling for more content itself. So let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into it, guys. So at number one, I'm bringing in Virgil van Dijk. Now, a lot of people are looking at the screen and going, you know what, he's almost owned by 10%. But for me personally, this guy was incredible before his horrific injury last season that he picked up in the kind of like Merseyside derby from Jordan Pickford. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of him. But do you know what? Over the last two seasons previous, this guy was a stalwart. He kind of controlled and managed and captained that backline like there was no other. Over the last two seasons prior to last season, he was actually part of 35 clean sheets. Now that's technically almost a whole season with clean sheets itself, and he averaged, he got 208 points, in 2018-19 season and 178 respectively the season after. So it shows that he's, he can deliver on the big stage. He knows the vision, he knows how to control his players, and he knows what, he lifted up the Premier League trophy the season before, so he knows what it means to deliver the performances and get the best on the pitch and in terms of FPL itself. So last season I know he only got 15 points, so we're not going to worry about that. Let's go back one more season for Van Dijk. So he played pretty much every minute, 38 games, 178 points with 5 goals and 2 assists. Now, yes, he's a bit pricey, 6.5, but look at it from this perspective. He's a guaranteed starter. He's a threat from set pieces, especially corners or any free kicks. He's lethal with his headers, and he's got a couple of assists as well. So on average, he was getting 4.68 points in the 2019-2020 season, which was his last full season for Liverpool. That is phenomenal. Now, what also stands out for me, he's only got just under 10% ownership, so he's not that highly owned. So people have kind of invested in Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously because there's more potential threat from set pieces. However, if you want to save yourself £1 million or £500,000 if you're getting Robertson rather than Trent, then Van Dijk is your man if you want to boost your defence. And if you want to triple up in the early stages to Liverpool, this is a great person to have in your squad. And we're just going to go through their fixtures. They're playing in their first 8 games, they're playing 3 out of the 3 promoted clubs. So they got Norwich, Burnley in the first 2 games. Then they got Chelsea at home, which at Anfield, yes, they had a rocky patch last season after New Year, but do you know what? At Anfield, Liverpool are very, very strong and they're very difficult to beat. So I can actually see them actually not, actually even getting a clean sheet there. It all depends on how the season starts. Then there's an international break, followed by Leeds, Crystal Palace and Brentford. Yes, they have Man City in game week 7, but that's at home as well. So another good game for them to play at home. And then they got Watford away in game week 8. So there's a really good start for Van Dijk. Now, if you want to double up and you don't want to go Jota, Mane and Salah, and you don't have the budget to get both Robertson and Trent in, this is a really good alternative for you to look into. And I'm pretty certain if I could get him into my draft, I definitely would. So he's a forgotten hero for me. So that's why he comes in at number 1. And if you are looking to bring him in and be a differential, I think this is the time to get him in, because I think once they get a few clean sheets and he might get a goal or so, because it's that season that I mentioned that we were discussing, not last season, the season before, in the opening game, he scored a goal against Norwich. So he got off to a good start and then a lot of people brought him in. So why not get in first? They're playing Norwich again. There's a strong chance he may get a clean sheet, and there's a good chance he may even get a goal or a set piece, like an assist, if he can. So that's on the table, guys. That's what I thought I'd go through Van Dijk, because in my opinion, that's quite low ownership considering the fixtures they have and how good he is. That's, a surprise for me. Yes, I know people are saying we want to see how he goes after the leg injury. I'm pretty sure he's gone through all the rehab, and we should see a Van Dijk that was, pretty much one of the best defenders, if not the best defender, centre-back wise, in the world at the time he was playing last season. Moving on to number 2, we're going to move on to Aymeric Laporte. Now, Laporte over the last 2 seasons has been hampered by injury. Also, they have brought in also new recruits as well, but we shouldn't forget the services he gave 3 seasons ago in FPL. He got 177 points respectively, and he played around 3,056 minutes. So there's always going to be the Pep rotation in there, whether they had the ammunition of last season where they brought in Ake, John Stones came into a bit of form, so they brought Diaz as well. So they got some more defensive armour in their squad, but he was an absolute rock in that 2018-19 season. 18 clean sheets when they had loads of clean sheets that season. He got 3 goals and 3 assists, and he was averaging higher than Van Dijk, which was 5.22 points, and he was really highly owned at that point as well. He comes in at 5.5 mil, which is actually a lower price. Now, the reason why is obviously John Stones has settled in. There's a risk of rotation. There's Nathan Ake as a backup as well, and sometimes they like to play Fernandinho on occasions as well in the kind of like centre-back position, and Kyle Walker can also play there if they decide to use him as a centre-back right of a centre-back pairing rather than using him as a right-back in that game itself. So there's a lot of risk of rotation, but for 5.5, he's only owned by less than 2% of managers. And again, if he can pick up some form in pre-season and Guardiola sees something in him, that's what you think about with Guardiola. It's all about chance. But again, if you can get in and you can get him in and he gets a few clean sheets, then it's a really, really good start. Now, in terms of starts-wise, a lot of people are overlooking Manchester City because of the first game against Tottenham away, which is understandable. What we need to remember is this is Manchester City at the end of the day. I do expect them to go there, and for me, they do start favourites. So in terms of a clean sheet, I wouldn't be surprised if they could get one. If there's no Kane, obviously, it's just Son, Dele Alli, and potentially Lucas Moura, who's going to be the threat. There's no Bale anymore either. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Nuno comes into the new management of Tottenham, how attacking they're going to be. So if he gets a chance and he gets to play, it'd be interesting to see, and he could come good, and it could be a really, really good differential for you to start off with in terms of Aymeric Laporte. Now, moving on to the third player, Raheem Sterling. Now, surprisingly, when I saw this, when I was going through players and their ownerships, this really caught my eyes. Only 3.3% of managers have actually gone for Raheem Sterling. Now, a lot of people I've seen talk about his price at 11 mil. If you look at his previous years, he was priced at 11.5 mil last season, and 12 mil the season before, and 11 million the season before. So if you look at it from the last, let's say, 4 seasons campaign, he got 149 points even in like 5 years ago. 16-17. In 17-18 he got 229, 234 in 18-19, 204 in 19-20, and 154 last season. Now, yes, he's only played 2,500 minutes, but there's a lot of rotation in Manchester City, and he still gets a lot of game time. He got 19 returns last season, so that's 1 every 2 games, which is still really impressive. And in terms of like general his play, he really picked up in the Euros, so he's caught some form. Yes, the stats say that he hasn't performed as well as he has done previous seasons, but you've got to look from what he's come into, guys. He's had a real good Euros. He's probably the player for England, along with Luke Shaw. I would say 2 best players for them, along performing with them and kind of got them to the final. We just can't ignore that. Yes, there's an 11 million investment in there, but I've seen a lot of people tend to kind of shift more towards Mane because of the fixtures. So we've already gone through the fixtures of Manchester City. Yes, the first game is difficult, but even against Spurs, I can still see him scoring. He's always there or thereabouts. And one thing that he really kind of like, really drives defences crazy is he's very, very agile. He's very quick, and he wins penalties. So again, not only can he win it, he'll get an assist through that as well. So, in terms of that, he's always a goal threat. He likes to score. He gets into good areas. Yes, he didn't have the greatest of form last season, but you can't write this guy off. And I think if you want to be kind of like, I'd say bold and brave, and you choose him, hats off to you. I really kind of like respect you for, going for a player who's performed previously, maybe not last season, but he's a forgotten hero for me this season already. And I'm really surprised only 3% of managers own him at this present moment. Will I see that increase as the season goes along? I certainly will do, because he will hit a patch where he hits form, and that's when you get in. But I want to make sure that, there's a great chance for him to hit form immediately, because he's had such a good Euros. Guardiola knows how to get the best out of players when they're in form. So that's what makes this guy so lethal. And obviously with no striker at the moment, there might be De Bruyne in the middle, Mahrez on one side and Raheem Sterling on the other. But he tends to play a lot more minutes compared to the other guys. So that's what makes this guy stand out. And for me, he is definitely a forgotten hero with such a low ownership at the moment. So if you want to take a risk and you want to bring him in, I don't even think that's much of a risk, to be fair. Raheem Sterling is a proven hero for FPL. So why not bring him in and, get ahead before everyone else joins the party? Now, moving on to the next player. It's Dele Alli. Now, Dele Alli, the thing with Dele Alli is obviously he had that fallout with Mourinho. So we need to understand that last season wasn't like his season to really count towards. And that's what a lot of people are really put off towards him. Less than 1% of managers own him at the moment. But I've seen some really good experts on the FPL kind of community really mention his name. With Kane going as well, and obviously Bale going, he will get his spot back in around that number 9 or maybe number 10 position. I think obviously Kane will be number 9, but he will be there or thereabouts. He will be there to, be around. He can score goals, he can set up goals, and his previous tallies prove it. Look at it in terms of like 2015, 16, 17, for example. He got, respectively 22 returns in one season and 29 in the other. So that is quite impressive. Yes, it's gone down as years have gone along, but in terms of his playing time, it's gone down due to injury as well. But let's take 2019 and 20, where he played kind of like the last time he played quite a number of minutes in terms of his own kind of time on the pitch. He averaged 5.71, guys, and that's a lot. For someone who's only worth 6.5 mil, I think that's a really good punt. A lot of people are looking at people like Bundia, Harrison, Rafinha, but this guy might actually prove a point. And in terms of 5.71 points a game, that's really good. Considering he played only half the season, 8 goals and 6 assists is still not too bad. And he's got a really good record in terms of behaviour as well. So you can see in terms of like red cards and stuff, he hasn't got a red card in the Premier League. So he does get the odd yellow card, but that's another plus point to have as well. In terms of fixtures, again, for Man City at home first game, but then look, Wolves, followed by Watford and Crystal Palace. So I think there's a really good chance for him. And, the thing about Dele Alli is when he does catch the spark, and he did near the end of the season last season when Ryan Mason gave him that chance to play week in, week out near the end, and he kind of did find a bit of spark, and you could see that coming back to him. So it's a really good eye to look out for him in pre-season, see how they line up with Nuno. He might be the guy who can get you those additional goals and points that you're looking for. And in terms of differential value, great start because he's less than 1% owned. Last but not least is Jamie Vardy. Now, there's a lot of kind of speculation around how Leicester are going to play. Is he going to be rested more? Because they've signed Dijk and Iheanacho came into form. Personally, I don't think they're going to rest him. He's just such a stalwart for Leicester, and he is Mr. Leicester himself. And he's still got the fitness, and yes, he will be there. He's priced at 10.5, which I think is slightly a bit high. I think 10 or 9.5 would have been a bit fair. He was priced at 10 mil last season when they started the season. So last season, 15 goals and 14 assists. Yes, he had a really bad last third of the season. Last 10 games wasn't that great, or 12 games. But it still shows he got 29 returns. That's almost, pretty much, getting into the Fernandes category and Kane almost. And he was averaging 5.93 points a game. He's on penalties. Now, they got Europe this season, and there's going to be a bit of rotation, but I think it's going to be more rotation around Dijk and Iheanacho. Yes, he may miss the odd game, but, in terms of his point scoring, when he is on fire, he definitely does, bring home the points itself. 8.6% ownership, so again, it's not too high. And in terms of looking at their fixtures, guys, Wolves at home first game, which should be interesting because I don't think the Wolves will be as defensively sound as they were under Nuno or previous years because they lost a few players and it's a new management, so we'll see how they fare up. West Ham away, which is going to be a good game. Norwich away. So the first 3 games aren't too bad before the international break, and then when they come back, they got Man City at home, who they beat last season by I think like 5 or 6-2 or something like that at the Etihad. followed by Brighton, Burnley and Crystal Palace. So you can see from the first 7 games, he has some really cracking fixtures to really get involved and really catch his form as well. He hasn't played any summer football, so he's going to be well rested, and I think he'll be raring to go in the new season. So that's why I'm quite keen on him. I haven't got him on draft just yet, but there is, if I can get an opportunity to, get the spare funds to bring him in, he's an absolute, he's a hero of the FPL itself. He will get you the points, and if you look at his tally points for the last X number of seasons, you can see he's hit 187, 210 the season before, 174, 183. So he's kind of like a proven player. And in terms of goals hitting, he's hit 20 goals plus 3 times already. So there's no reason why he can't do that again. With the crowds back, he kind of relishes the challenge, and obviously his celebration in terms of the cup ears definitely comes handy as well, because he likes to really drive the crowd and he likes to buzz off the kind of atmosphere in the stadium as well. So that's Jamie Vardy in the list as well of Forgotten Heroes. So that's my list of Forgotten Heroes, guys. So let me know what your thoughts were. Did you like this content? Was there something new? Did you feel that it was nice of me to make this video and you kind of got some insight of players that you've maybe overlooked? Is there a potential that these players that you haven't looked at are going to be in your squads now? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please subscribe to FPL Inklink. We're reaching towards the 1K mark, fingers crossed, before the start of the new season, which is not too far away. So thank you so much for subscribing and supporting me and this channel. Contact me on social media if you guys need anything, and also join the FPL Inklink League. The code's on the bottom left of the screen itself. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you guys the best of luck making your first drafts, and good luck for the new season, which is not too far away, guys.